Okay, hey, what's going up? What's going on, everybody? Today I want to do a look at my OOTP 19 game, I guess you can call it, that I was doing for the good part of this release cycle here with the San Francisco Giants. I did one of these videos about this time last year for the Oakland A's game I did in OOTP 18, and I had a lot of fun making that. I got to go through go through the history of the team since I took over here, and you know, relive some of the moments here. Didn't get as far into this one as I did in my A's game last year, only up to 2032 in this one. I started this one a little bit late. Started around July or August of the summer. And I was having a lot of trouble getting into OOTP 19. I had a game going on with the Pirates that was, it was all right. Didn't have the same kind of fun I was having with the A's game last year. I was just a little bit burnt out, I think. So I took a break from it, came back in late summer, and had a blast with this one. A lot of great players came through, and I am going to keep going in this universe here, but I'm not going to be continuing with San Francisco. I had a lot of fun here in San Francisco. I'll just show. I mean, obviously, you see the record, a pretty solid 116 wins this year. It's really, I kind of think I've figured out the formula for this game, especially when you have a team that you can just run with a huge payroll like the San Francisco Giants. I mean, you can see some of the payroll totals here. I mean, we peaked at 257 at one point. If you have a high enough payroll like that, I mean, you can do whatever you want basically, and it's not really challenging or as fun as it was when we started off here. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to keep going in this game. I'm going to be switching to a different team here. I'm still not sure yet. I'm leaning towards the Yankees. They've fallen off a little bit here, but that's besides the point. But yeah, as you can see, I mean, we've just been running away. I mean, we haven't lost less than 100 games since 2026. I mean, we peaked at 119 2 years ago, which is pretty cool. Never had success like this. I mean, in my Oakland game last year, I mean, we had some really good seasons. I think the most we ever had was like 114. But certainly we weren't able to have payrolls like this and just dominate the league. I mean, this team is freaking stacked. But yeah, I mean, in this, I want to run through the teams that we've had, some of the best players, some of the some of my strategies. Also, I think I've really kind of figured things out here in OTP 19. And then just being able to supplement that with such a high payroll, really you can just do whatever you want for the most part here. But anyways, we started out here in the. I mean, obviously, I actually didn't play this first season in 2018. What I did was, since I started out so late in the release cycle, what I did was I took over and I simulated all of 2018, and then I applied as the GM here of San Francisco. And so 2019 was my first year, so I didn't make any roster moves or anything in 2018. So basically, from 2019 on is responsible by me, and yeah, I mean, we had a one weird season here in 69-93. We'll get into that, but first off, I want to start by going over this current roster. It's pretty stacked. We didn't win the World Series this year. Really disappointing. We lost in 7 games to the eventual World Series winners. Where's the message here? The Reds. We lost to them in 7 games in the NLCS. Our bats just disappeared. Just disappeared on on us in that series, and they got hot and rode that out to a World Series win. They only had 86 wins, and yeah, we choked. We definitely choked. We were going for a three-peat, and it was playing out that series or that series. It was a pretty surprising that we even pushed it to 7 in the first place. I mean, we were not hitting at all, but well, that doesn't matter too much. We'll get in here. The team is a lot of fun. So, this is actually my 40-man roster. I think it's still at my September expanded roster still. So, there's gonna be a couple of guys in here that aren't that crucial. Yeah. So, let's get into it here. Our catcher is let's see if I can even pronounce this. Jeremy Fauché, the Haitian from Haiti. Just a catcher. What I've been doing lately with this team, we have so much offense everywhere else that I've been really making it a point to, in these premium positions like catcher, shortstop, center field, to get premium defenders. And then, because we have the offense that can pick up the slack for them. I mean, obviously it's a nice luxury to have, but yeah, I mean, I've just been prioritizing defense in those spots. So, I mean, Fauché, he was a free agent signing this year. I figured he won't kill you with the bat, which he didn't. I mean, he was 101 OPS plus this year. I mean, nothing special with the bat, but he plays good enough defense. He can gun down runners. And, I saw him sitting there in free agency, and I, saw his track record. Not a terrible hitter. I'm obviously in small sample sizes. I mean, this is the most playing time he's ever gotten this year. And, I just decided to pick him up, give him a shot. As long as he doesn't kill you defensively, I'm fine with it. Put up 1.5 WAR in 89 games. I'll take that. So going down now, our backup catcher. I guess, well, the right-handed part of our platoon. We were platooning here. Sam McMillan, just a veteran, good leader, good defender. He's been with us for 3 years now, or 2.5 years, and he's not a great hitter, but he does his job here. He's had some big hits in the playoffs in the past too, so it's all right, and he's got one more year at $2.5 million on his deal. I mean, not the end of the world or anything like that. Tyler Ferguson is just a depth first baseman we picked up when our starting first baseman went down with an injury, so not much to say there. Matt Thomas, pretty good player. He was a 15th round pick, so a little bit of a diamond in the rough kind of thing. He's had a really good career to this point. This is his 3rd full season. You can see the WAR totals. 5 WAR last year. He was off to a great start in this past season. He was looking like he was going to win the MVP in the first half, and then he kind of slumped in the second half. But he gets on base. He puts 20 home runs up there, and he's durable. You gotta love it. And he's not the best hitter on the team by any means, but he's a solid, well above average infielder. Doesn't strike out, takes a lot of walks. Just the type of guy that you want if you can. I mean, more walks than strikeouts for the past 2 years, and we've locked him up on what's probably going to look like a pretty bargain contract for the next 7 years, which is pretty cool. And now, Manny Irizarry, one of my favorite players here, just an absolute masher. I mean, international free agent, and, he had a bit of a down year this year, only 5 WAR. Yeah, that's a down year for him, and, he was really off to a terrible start in the first couple months or so this year, and he was just on a tear through the rest of the season, though, to pick up those numbers to where they are. 1,000 OPS, basically just one of the best in the game, for sure. And he is a little bit of a dick, but he's kind of like, a little bit like Manny Machado, maybe one of the best hitters, but no hustle, slow to catch on. I, I don't know, and he's not signing an extension with us. I would have definitely wanted to signed him to an extension a long time ago, but he's not signing the extension, so that's a little bit concerning, and he doesn't want one again this offseason, so that is a bit troubling. Andres Enchinado, just a depth infielder, nothing too special here. Chris Lopez, picked him up in a trade towards the deadline this past season. Had some infielders injured. We needed a backup. Chris Lopez was a guy I looked to get in the past, and he's a pretty solid hitter. He doesn't slug anything, basically, but he won't kill you offensively. And he can play a lot of positions, very versatile guy. That's why I had interest in him. And, he's a free agent at the end, or he's a free agent right now, I guess. Picked him up from Miami. And, versatile guy, played all around the diamond, or all around the infield at least. So he was a good guy, wanted to pick him up. Elaine Schmidt, scouting discovery from Haiti. Very good defensive shortstop. Again, that's kind of what was going for here. Always try to have a good defender at shortstop. I've noticed in this game you really do need a good defender at shortstop. This was his first full season with the team. He's been injury prone. I wanted to call him up. He was supposed to be the starter in 2031, but he got injured in April and was out for the whole season. So that kind of put a wrench into our plans there. But in his first full year of playing time, he was injured again. So not even really his first full season. But obviously that's a disappointing slash there. But he plays good enough defense, and you put him at the bottom of the order, it's not going to kill you, especially if you have the talent all around the diamond to prop him up. Mason Auer was just a guy called up for a few days when we had an injury. Aaron Wheeler, so yeah, I mean, you talk about the player here. I mean, this guy's like Mike Trout 2.0. I mean, you can see the numbers that he put up this past season. 10.4 wins above replacement. He won't win MVP, though. That's the thing. He won't win MVP. There was a Triple Crown winner this year who topped him on homers, RBIs, and average. But he was the WAR leader by just a little bit, though, I think. But anyways, so this guy's like Mike Trout 2.0. I mean, we picked him up in a trade from Kansas City when he was in his last year of team control. And Kansas City couldn't afford him. They couldn't afford his arbitration numbers. They couldn't do anything like that. So we picked him up. We had the space for him, and he put up this season for us in his first year. And then we signed him to a huge extension. I mean, it was a 7-year, $315 million deal with a 45 average value. But I mean, it's worth it. When you have a player like this, you have to keep him. You have to do whatever it takes to keep him. And again, with a big enough budget like the San Francisco Giants in this game, you're not worried about it too much. I mean, we have the dollars to do it, so we're gonna do it. But yeah, I mean, you can just see the numbers that he's put up. I mean, he's already a Hall of Famer at age 30. I mean, that's incredible. Yeah, I mean, his team beat us in the World Series. Yeah, in 2026, I think they beat us that year. And you can see that was his first full season. And I mean, just like, look at that. Oh my goodness. One of the best in the game. And, he's a very good base runner too. Get some additional value there. He only got caught once this past season. Eduardo Espinoza, just some more depth, another depth outfielder. He had some good years in the past for us, especially like this year. He was very good for us. He's been a platoon hitter the past 2 years. Actually, only this year, in 2030, was he actually a full-time player for us. And obviously he regressed a little bit, so I put him into a platoon spot, and he hasn't done well in that role, but it's okay. Picked him up as originally we picked him up as a minor league free agent. Boston just let him go, and he's exceeded expectations for what you would expect out of a minor league free agent. So that's all right. Plays all 3 outfield spots too, so that's all right. Jonas Rios, we picked him up in the Rule 5 draft. And yeah, he's been a nice, pleasant surprise for us. I wasn't certainly when I picked him, I wasn't expecting him to be a 3-win guy right from the get go. But he's picked up the starting job, and he's kind of taken playing time away from anybody else. I play him in center field. I mean, he's not the greatest defender in center field. He's definitely probably more of a quarter guy, but he's got the speed. I don't know if just like with more experience that rating will go up. But yeah, I mean, he's exceeded expectations for sure. I was kind of just looking to get a bench bat out of him when I picked him in the Rule 5. So, yeah, I mean, that was definitely a misstep by Pittsburgh to just let him walk for nothing. But yeah, he's been solid for us, solid for sure. Where's my cursor here? There we go. Miguel Gutierrez, again, just picked him up for outfield depth when some injuries happened. Felix Meza was a top prospect. I think he was, what was he coming into the year as? The number 32 prospect in baseball. Just a giant masher. I was playing him at first this season because we had an injury to our starting first baseman. And he's not really a first baseman, so he cost us a little bit defensively, especially in the playoffs. He made a couple of errors. I had to pull him for defensive replacements, late in the game and whatnot. But hang on one sec. I had to pull him for some defensive replacements late in the games, but he hits pretty well. He actually got a brief cameo for us last season. Yeah, we were going through some injuries in that year too, so called him up a little bit premature, obviously. But I mean, you look at his ratings; he's not that good against left-handed pitching, so that is a bit of a concern of mine. If he can even be an everyday player, but I mean, just with those ratings against righties, you hope that'll develop a little bit. I mean, he's still only 22. International free agent signing, team captain, a real team leader. Just a good guy to have on your team, and especially I think he's primed up to take a starting job next year. I mean, you'll see why coming up here soon. Yes, so with Juan Soto, I mean, Juan Soto has been one of the greatest players of all time. We picked him up in a trade, but I mean, he's got an inflated salary number. He's got one more year left at 41.5. Well, 95% of 41.5. So I mean, if we're looking to move somebody out, I think if you can move some of that salary out, and you can have Meza come in and take his spot full time next year. I mean, it would be a hard player to replace. I mean, at 34, he's still just such a great hitter. I mean, just look at this: 87 wins above replacement through his career so far. He's one home run away from 600, which is really cool. I mean, he's just I mean, you saw what he was like in real life this year. He didn't play until 2019 in this, but in real life, he I mean, that's not far off apparently to what he's going to be in his career. So he signed as a free agent with the Yankees, and then they had him on the trading block after only a season. I guess they couldn't afford the contract. I don't actually remember what the exact situation was. They weren't a good team at that point, so I think they were trying to move some salary, and we picked him up in a trade. And I forgot exactly what we gave up. Oh yeah, that's right. We got him on the cheap. We gave up a really good. He was good at the time, obviously. Not this type of player back then, but yeah, we gave him a giant mashing first baseman for him, and yeah, we haven't looked back. He's been a part of, I mean, how many championships did we win with him? I can't even see it. Just covered. He has so many accomplishments here. But yeah, a great hitter, obviously, and still productive at 34. He was like one of the only guys in the postseason that was still hitting. I mean, um, yeah, he's just a hitting machine. And we also have this guy, Emilio Torres, one of my favorite players, another international free agent. And look at that eye discipline. Yeah, I mean, that says it all. He has actually regressed, I think, a little bit. I think this avoid K's used to be higher too. He had a bit of a down season this year. Let's go Major League only here. He had a bit of a down season. He was also injured the past 2 years, which is a bit concerning. But um, I mean, he had the 6.2 win season. I mean, look at these walk numbers, and then look at his strikeout numbers. Just yeah. I mean, you get a player like this, you shouldn't let him walk if you have a player like this. And I signed him to a big extension. Big extension. It might be a little bit of an overpay, but we were in big negotiations with him. But obviously the big money doesn't kick in until a little bit later. But yeah, I mean, he's a guy that you get, you develop, and you don't let go. You don't want to let go of a player like this. So again, just showing what you can do with a big budget team. I mean, you can really just, it's so overpowered. I mean, you can do whatever you want, basically. And there is one guy, I think he's not on the roster because he's injured. Yes, Edwin Torres here, the first baseman. He's was having a great year, and then he got injured, and we missed his bat in the playoffs for sure. But funny story with this guy, we had him. He was a San Francisco prospect. I signed him as a international free agent way early on in this game. Let me just check. Yeah, in the first year, 2019, we signed him as a free agent. And we traded him. This was probably the worst trade I ever made in this series. We got John Duplantier, who is a real prospect for the Diamondbacks. We needed like another quality starting pitcher. And the defect with Torres at the time, if I can get back to his player page here, where am I going? Yeah, his eye discipline was like 35 at the time. That was like his potential was 35, and he obviously outgrew that and became a very productive player. I mean, you could see the numbers that he put up. So yeah, I mean, I was kicking myself for that one for a long time. But yeah, I mean, we got him back in a trade as he was in his last year of team control with the Diamondbacks, and then we re-signed him to a pretty big contract. I mean, again, I put the opt-out in there thinking, he might opt out, and obviously, he's been good. He was very good in that first year. We won the World Series, and he's been injured the past 2 seasons, so a little bit disappointing, but obviously a great talent for sure, and it allowed us to move out. Our top prospect at the time was a first baseman, so it allowed us to move him for some starting pitching depth, which you'll see who we got when we get to the pitchers. But yeah, I mean, this was the worst trade I made, I think, in this game. I mean, Duplantier was here for 2 seasons, 2.5 or 1.5 seasons. We were pitching him out of the bullpen a little bit in that first year, and he was okay, and then that second year he was really bad for us. I mean, he had a 3-win season. I guess he had a good FIP. I could take a look at it, actually. Yeah, his FIP was decent, but, not good enough to that point where we were trying to win. We couldn't have a pitcher pitching like that. And then, obviously, I think that was a good decision shipping him out because he was never really good again. We traded him. And, yeah, he was a top 100 prospect. I think he is I don't know where he ranks in the Diamondback system in real life. He's like one of their. He might be their top pitching prospect. I'm not too sure. It depends probably where you look. But yeah, we were able to trade him for we got a pretty good package back for him. I mean, you can see the names there. I mean, those are about who else we traded in that one, but yeah, it's okay. So going now to the pitching staff. I guess we'll start at the top here. Shane Baz. Yeah, he's been our ace for a while now. We got him. So I guess if you're a Pirates fan or a Rays fan who wants to see, how Shane Baz turns out, yeah, it's a pretty good career. I still can't believe they traded him also in that Archer deal, but we'll see how that pans out. But yeah, so we got him, and yeah, he was also kind of like a recurring theme here, getting guys towards the end of their team control years. So we signed him to an extension also, and he just actually opted out of his deal. So he's going to hit the market, and I probably wouldn't re-sign him. His demands are pretty big. I mean, I don't think this team could afford another Shane Baz contract on their team, but you know, just a solid pitcher, not a big strikeout guy either, which is it's kind of goes against what you excuse me, kind of goes against what the modern thinking is, where you need strikeouts and velocity, win big, but he's been able to pitch for a long time, successfully for a long time in the majors, and he's been a big part of our teams. He's won 3 championships with us, yeah, all 3, and he's been a big part for us. So he got injured also this year, which is pretty bad, but he got injured for us in the playoffs, so he missed all of his he missed some big starts for us in the postseason, so we were kind of patching together a rotation. And Chance Brown. So Chance Brown, we got in that Oakland trade. We traded our top first base prospect for him, that guy that I was referencing before. And so this was his first year with us, and I, believed he would pick it up for us. I mean, you can see he's had success in the past. I wasn't really buying that, this was his true talent here, especially with the ratings that he had. So I was willing to discount that prior bad year, and Oakland needed to move salary. He's just still in this arbitration. It's not like they had, him locked up or anything. So it made sense to trade for him. And he was pretty solid for us in his first year. And yeah, I mean, with the way that I handle starting pitchers in this game, you can see the low inning total in 33 starts. I mean, that is, I think, a part of the reason for the success. We can get into that a little bit more later, but yeah, Chance Brown, a nice little player here for us, who really picked up the slack. We lost a couple of starting pitchers to free agency the past offseason, so we needed to replace those guys. Chance Brown did a great job. Hilliard, not much to say there. Steve Keck, so another guy here that I had interest in for a long time, former Cy Young winner. Yeah, so I had interest in him for a while. He was he was a top 10 pick by Miami. And same thing, just being able to take advantage of teams here with my big budget. I mean, Miami couldn't afford his $21 million arbitration number, so I swooped in and picked him up kind of for the low. And he put in a pretty good year for us. Probably a little bit more than what I was expecting also. These ratings did drop over the course of the season, but he was solid for us. And he was, he kind of wasn't good in the postseason, but it was, it's all right. Yeah, and he's a free agent. You're not tied to that salary anymore, so just get him and move on. Take the comp picks also. Tyler Kwarteng, the starting pitcher here, we picked him up 2 off seasons ago, I guess it was. He was signed to a pretty good contract, so he was a definitely a trade target of mine. He was pretty disappointing in that first year, although he did pick it up. He was really bad in the first half last year, and then he was really good in the second half. And then this year he was really back on the top of his form here. Probably the best season he ever had in terms of WAR, anyway. And it was a pretty controversial decision. We traded this guy, Luis Ayala, who was our top prospect and one of the top prospects in all of baseball. And you never know, but I wasn't sold on his hitting ratings here. I think that was a pretty sound decision too. I mean, he was a 3-win player this year, probably because of his defense. But he was only a 740 OPS guy, and he walked a lot. That's the one thing he was gonna walk a lot. But I felt okay trading him. Probably more so than anybody else. And he was a top prospect. He was like number. He was up there. He was like number 5, number 6. So yeah, I mean it was a tough decision. But we also got a top pitching prospect back for him in Michael Marshall, who I was really excited about this year. So I felt okay doing that, so no regrets there. Sam Leslie, also, we got him in the same trade that we got Brown in from Oakland. He was signed to a long-term deal. Pretty good money here. He was the one guy that Oakland didn't really want to move. I had to kind of overextend a little bit to get that trade to go through, but in his first year for us, pretty solid. He was an all-star. I think he was our best pitcher. Got injured though, again, missed him in the postseason for sure. Pretty solid pitcher. And it was interesting. I liked Brown better than I liked Leslie here. And I thought Leslie, if we could get Leslie, great. If not, I'll just get Brown. And turns out Leslie was the better pitcher. So lefty, 31, under team control for 2 more years. Solid, that's what you want. And then Jason Philpott. So this guy, he's not really a starter. I had him start 1 game for us in the postseason, and it did not go well. So we picked him up. He's more of a reliever. He was a reliever this past year for us. I'll just set him as a reliever right now. You can see it jumps up to a 70. He's got 3 good pitches, but with control like that, it's hard to make it work as a starter. We had him start 13 games for us last season, and he did well in those starts. He had a couple of stinkers, but he was all right. And this year as a reliever, he was just a lot better in the bullpen full time. So, he was a top prospect. 3 great pitches, but if that control was just like a little bit better, you're looking at one of the best starters in the game. But unfortunately for him, it's not going to work out. But we picked him up from the Yankees. I mean, you can just see. I mean, when he was starting for them, just look at the numbers. So not great, but he's found a home in the pen at least. Jeff Antone, just a kind of a depth guy. Zach Blackbird, one of the best relievers in the game. Picked him up from Seattle in a trade. And he was dominant this past season for us. And Jason D'Annunzio. We've had a very good track record of getting relievers. A lot of these guys are homegrown, cheap. And a part of that strategy, just like in real life, you see teams do it all the time. They send relievers up and down between AAA. And, we kind of do the same thing. Get guys with option years and just send them up and down, pump and dump them, and, use them, have them blow out, and then get somebody else up here. That's kind of been my strategy the past few years. Wasn't great for us, but, only 24 games. Pat Hundley, dominant lefty. You can see what he's done the past couple years. One of the better ones in baseball. Lutjens, another guy, homegrown draft pick prospect, hasn't really pitched much, got 7 games this year for us. Marco Ortiz, another guy, 2nd-round pick. Drafted him as a starter, but obviously that third pitch didn't develop, so now he's just a really good reliever, which is fine. I mean, I'll take guys like this. You need guys like this. Dominant bullpens, especially the way that I use my starters. You gotta have a dominant bullpen for sure. Marty Oyola, another guy, lefty, had a bit of a down year this year, but he's solid. Just kind of fly through this a little bit. Philpott we already saw. Rummel, just another guy, up and down, minor league guy. Kyle Sansone, another guy, draft pick, one of the best relievers in the game. I mean, he really has been for the past couple of years. I mean, he had this year in 2030 where he was nearly untouchable. Last year he had 3 WAR. He was really underperforming his FIP. I mean, his FIPs are dominant here. At least these 2 years they were. I'm not really sure what it was this year, but this year he was really underperforming his FIP with his ERA. He had an ERA in the 4s at one point, but he still had really good FIP. So just an unlucky streak there for him. But 3-win seasons as a reliever. It's hard to get much better than that. Keith Talley, another guy, lefty guy who's up and down all year. Again, drafted him as a starter, but didn't develop. So now you got a really good reliever. So you'll take it. And then we're back to Shane Baz. So this team is pretty good. Really had a lot of fun building this team. And then here's Michael Marshall, the prospect that we picked up in that Milwaukee trade. I mean, you can just see the pitches are outstanding. He's similar. I think his control, if that control gets to 50, I think we're going to be pretty solid. But if not, I mean, again, you have another really good reliever for 6 years or 5 years, whatever. And he came up for us last year and made 3 starts for us. It didn't all go well. I mean, as you can see, the walk numbers are pretty high, but so it is concerning. But I think he's still. I mean, he's 26 at this point. He's about to be 27, and but late bloomer, whatever. But those 3 pitches, and this year he was just in the bullpen for us. This year, the plan was for him to make a few starts, especially when injuries happened. But then he got injured himself. So that kind of threw a wrench into our plans a little bit. We were kind of patching a rotation together for the second half of the season, but we weren't in danger of losing the lead in our division or anything, so I wasn't too concerned about it. But he was dominant strikeout numbers. I mean, the walks, those are an issue, but he's a good wait and see kind of guy. I wasn't comfortable going into the season with him as a starter, so I decided to make the trade for Keck to kind of hedge against it, and I think that was probably a good decision. I don't know what he would kind of look like as a starter, making 30 starts or whatever a year. But, so the way that I kind of have run the team here with my strategy, I mean, you can see kind of what I've been doing. So I only play as the GM. That's kind of what I've been doing this entire time here. Our manager is this new guy, Justin Gemmel. This was his first year with us. But basically, I'm the GM, but I make all of the lineup decisions and all the strategy decisions. So, I just make it a little bit more realistic, I guess. I know I don't like being the GM and then also being the manager. But, so what I do is, with my pitchers, quick hooks on all of them, and relievers, and so basically what I do is, you can see I have my pitch count set for 85, 90, 85, and basically if you give me 5 innings, and I think this is probably where starting pitching is going to end up going in the future. I mean, even these guys who are, dominant pitchers, I rarely have them go more than 5 or 6 innings, and basically just limiting the times through the order penalty, and you know, letting your bullpen, if you can get a good bullpen, use them. I mean, that's kind of what I'm all about here. I let the relievers get the high leverage innings, and let the starters go as long as they can until they can, 3 times through the order. I don't go that extreme with it. Like, I mean, it's kind of hard to make it work in this game. I've tried it in the past, kind of opener kind of strategy, and you kind of have to manually do it yourself. It's a little bit weird. So I kind of just do the next best thing, which is just go crazy limiting your starting pitchers' pitch counts. I mean, don't go much more than 90 most times. And then just let your bullpen go to work. And then part of that is having guys that you can send up and down freely, like this guy here, D'Onzano, and Lutjens, and the other guy, Keith Talley. Having guys that you can send up and down throughout the whole season, and keeping a fresh bullpen. That's really what my strategy has been. And it's been my strategy for this entire kind of little run that we've been on, basically since this bad season right here in 2024, which was a flawed team. We were coming off of a 99-win season, so I was like, okay, we can, keep doing what we're doing, but that was a flawed team also. So, I decided to completely change things up and just go with the new strategy, and I'd say it's kind of worked out. Obviously, not that by itself. Also having, players like these in your lineup helps also, but it helps. So when we first started here, I guess we'll go through kind of what's happened here in this season. So 2019 was my first year, and basically what we were doing in that first year was we were taking on bad contracts and buying prospects. As you can see here, like Jason Kipnis, we got for some reason. We got a good prospect here in George Valera, who we then flipped for other prospects and whatever. And we took on Jason Kipnis's big contract. We took on who else here? There's a couple of them. We took on Ben Zobrist from the Cubs and Tyler Chatwood from the Cubs. We took on Homer Bailey at the time and bought some prospects from the Reds. And we took on Zach Greinke's deal at one point. And what we did was we either ended up releasing them, or they played for us at a in a reduced role. We knew that they were overpaid, obviously, but we knew that they were overpaid, but we were okay with it because we weren't expecting to do well. I mean, we somehow won 90 games that year. Obviously, I don't think we didn't make the playoffs, but we were just short, obviously. But we ended up releasing like Johnny Cueto. We weren't. I wasn't gonna force guys like that into our lineup. If we didn't need to. I mean, he pitched in 10 games for us in 2019, and then I'm pretty sure we just released him outright. I wasn't going to force players to stay on the roster that we didn't really want. So if I couldn't trade them, I just released them in their big money. I don't know if we did the same with Samardzija, but I don't think we did. No, he left as a free agent. He was actually pretty solid for us in the save. I don't really know how that happened, but yeah, he was pretty solid for us throughout that whole thing. Madison Bumgarner, we didn't trade. He played his entire career for us. And the reason I didn't trade him, he was looking for such a cheap contract. I mean, you can see we got him back on for like 18 mil a season. And so I was okay giving him that, if that meant he could be a San Francisco Giant for his entire career. They have some decisions to make there in San Francisco. I think, obviously if they kept going on the path that they were going with Bobby Evans and Sabian as their brain trust there, I didn't see a good path for them in the future, but they've got Farhan Zaidi in there now. I think that was a pretty good hire for them. So, but he ended up winning the Cy Young for us in 2020, and retired his number. Obviously, him and Posey. But yeah, so that was kind of what we were doing. We were rebuilding those first couple of years, and 92 wins that second season, but not anything, not a great team or anything. We had Mookie Betts. Obviously, it's not the real life Mookie Betts who's won the MVP this year, but um, he was solid for us. He had some pretty good years here for us, but yeah, obviously it's not the real life Mookie Betts. And yeah, he picked up Zach Greinke, and he made the Hall of Fame. We gave up not too much because they were just looking to give up his contract, and so he pitched 2 seasons for us. And yeah, I mean, we were just kind of like trying to get our pieces together here. I mean, you can see some of the pitchers that we had, like Alex Faedo. We had Alex Reyes, who was hurt for the most of his time here for us. So yeah, I mean, that was unfortunate. He had 2 arm surgeries in back-to-back seasons, and you can see he didn't really play for that long in the major leagues. So yeah, that was unfortunate, but he was good for us that one year when we picked him up. Yeah, so we traded like Brandon Belt. We tried to trade as many of the big salary players that we had, but Evan Longoria, we just ended up releasing him. That was a bad trade when it happened, and it's going to be a bad trade for a while. I think San Fran, unless they release him straight up, they're going to have trouble, building. So we just released him straight up. But we had a surprise World Series win in the 3rd year here in 2021. We can kind of see what happened here. So yeah, we picked up Eugenio Suarez. And I mean, these games, he's still playing. Holy shit. He's playing in Japan still. But yeah, I mean, we picked him up. It's obviously not the real life Eugenio Suarez either. I mean, he had 2 decent years, but not the years that he had in the past for us, or not the years that he had like in real life with the Reds this year. But yeah, I mean, but he came to us, and all of a sudden he just started hitting. I don't know what it was, but yeah, he became a great hitter for us, and 920 OPS, 7 wins there, and 30 home runs. Well, kind of 30 home runs. A good player there. He declined sharply though. That was one thing. And Mookie Betts, Buster Posey was still a productive player through basically the entire end of his career. Yeah, he was still putting up like 5 wins, 4 wins, 3 wins, and then he transitioned into like a backup role for us. But yeah, obviously, didn't want to see him retire anywhere else. He's not up for. Oh no, will probably make the Hall of Fame. He didn't make it on his first ballot, but that's okay. Yeah, I mean, we picked up Jock Peterson as a free agent, Xander Bogaerts, Alex Verdugo. I think he was just in the Rule 5. I'm pretty sure we just got him in the Rule 5, and yeah, he won. Oh, I guess he didn't win Rookie of the Year this year. I don't know how he didn't, but yeah, we had him for 3 seasons. He was up and down, yeah, I kind of figured that this season was kind of more typical of what he was going to be. So we traded him to Philadelphia, and yeah, he never had quite a good season like the one he had, in that first year. So I didn't want to buy in too big to 1 year, so I kind of shipped him off quickly there. Yeah, we picked him up in the Rule 5, and in that trade, yeah, we got Aaron Nola for him. So we also gave up one of our top pitching prospects, though, and Omuna, I don't know. But yeah, he had a couple of good seasons for Philly, but yeah. Taylor Trammell. So this is the guy we got for Homer Bailey. Yeah, so we got Homer Bailey, we got Jose Siri, um, and a couple of other flyer prospects. So they were just kind of looking to move Homer Bailey's salary, kind of like what they did in real life, but not really what they did in real life. But yeah, we got Taylor Trammell, who played center field, left field, kind of played everywhere, and he was really good in the beginning of his career. And then we traded him, and he kind of had a short career, but he was solid for us for a while. For a center fielder anyway, he was what you can expect, what you hope to get out of a center fielder. And Joey Bart. So what I did was I did the first year player draft in 2018. I did the first round or so, and I put all the players where they went in real life. So like Casey Mize went number 1 to Detroit. So I put him on Detroit. I put Joey Bart on San Francisco. And so for us, yeah, he was a bit of a disappointment, actually. He only had 1 or 2 really good years. I mean, he had a good year this year. And I was kind of like playing Posey every other day towards the beginning here. Or maybe I was playing Bart like 5 days a week. If we had like 7 games, I would play Posey twice a week. Something like that. And then he won the starting job outright in this year. And he was kind of bad for 2 years there. And so we traded him to New York. And he had a pretty good stint there. And then he's been with Texas for the past. He was just a disappointment all around. And I mean, who's paying him $20 million a year? Come on. We had him on a contract extension, so it kind of looked like he was going to be our face of our franchise for a bit, but he just didn't work out. I mean, he had 2 kind of meh years there that soured me on him, so I was ready to move on from him. But he was part of a World Series winning team. Yeah, I mean, you can see we picked up Chris Sale. I forgot, we traded for him. Yeah, so somehow I think the Mets signed him. We can look at it here, but yeah, oh yeah, he signed he signed with the Mets as a free agent, and they were looking to trade him after only 1 season. So we moved a couple of prospects for him, and he was pretty good for us. He won. What did he win? The Cy Young? No, he didn't win the Cy Young. Yeah, he did win the Cy Young in 2021, and he was kind of wasn't great. I'll put it like that. The rest of his time here, but he had that 1 good year and helped us win a championship, and we ended up trading him in that blockbuster for Xander Bogaerts, Tommy Kahnle, and Miko Rodriguez, who played for us for like a year, I think. But yeah, he ended up probably as a disappointment. I mean, if the back half of his career looks like this in real life, I mean, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see though what happens in real life with Chris Sale. I mean, he's got a lot of innings on his arm already, but we'll see. He ended up going to Seattle, had whatever kind of season, so he might not even make the Hall of Fame, which is kind of weird. I don't think he will, but yeah, he was good for us that year. We had like Daniel Norris also. We picked up a lot of trades. That's kind of like the theme here. We made a lot of trades. I mean, so we picked up again Norris just for 1 year, and we let him go. So that's kind of my thing that I kind of did. Edwin Diaz, we picked him up as I think it was a free agent. No, I think it was a trade. Yeah. We also signed him as a free agent later on. Or we picked him up again, actually, in another trade. But yeah, he was really good. Just like he is in real life. Alex Faedo, let me just pick up the pace a little bit here. But there's one guy here, Tyler Myrick. So this was the first draft pick that I actually made in the 2019 draft. And he was disappointing for sure. I think he was like a top 15 pick or something. Yeah, he was 14th overall. Disappointing. He had that one really good year here. He won the ERA title, if that even means anything. But yeah, he was a disappointment. And he's kind of bounced around the league a little bit. Been with Philly. He's had some decent seasons, but nothing too special. So we kind of won that World Series, and I kind of just feel like I could keep up my own thing here. I mean, we didn't win. We're making the playoffs, whatever. 99 wins, second place. Again, that's drives me crazy, but yeah, so I mean, we had a good thing going. We had we had some guys here. Chris Shaw turned out to be a really good player for us. You can see some of the numbers that he put up. He had a bad year. He's also part of why we were bad in this year, 2024. He had a bad first half, so we traded him to New York in the last year of his deal. But I was always hesitant to sign him long term. I just because I wasn't sure whether this was like really the player that he was. I mean, he was great. He was absolutely great for us. But signing a long term deal to a guy who's like 29, 30, first base only type of guy, that's probably not a great investment. So I felt okay not signing him long term, and he's been productive for pretty much his entire career. He's had a really good career. He's won a couple of actually only won one championship with us. So I thought he was on a couple of these. I thought he was on one of the Houston teams that might have won, but I guess not. But yeah, he's had a solid career, and but basically, this was a really flawed team. This 99-win team. We were kind of just banking on a lot of big performances, and you can see some of the names here that we've had: Michael Conforto, Travis Shaw. I mean, some of these other guys here. Jose Tellez was a pretty good success story for us. He was a third-round pick by us in the second year, and I was worried about this movement and control. They weren't this high. The movement was always pretty low on him, but the control was always going to be the deciding point if he was going to stick or not. And we picked him up, and I wanted him to finish his entire career here. Kind of like the first success story out of the draft that we had. He wanted 2 Cy Youngs for us, and obviously he was on some really good teams also. But I was again, he was probably like the guy that benefited most from that pitching strategy. I mean, you can see only 151 innings, 150 innings. Because he's a low stamina guy. He's only got, well, actually I think that went up a little bit. It was only like 50 for a long time, but he was dominant, and we kind of got a good life out of him. We tried to re-sign him, but I didn't want to give him 4 years, which he actually ended up getting from New York. He got a 4-year deal, all guaranteed at too much money. So I felt okay letting him walk. I wanted to, have him be a lifelong San Francisco Giant. Probably would have retired his number, but probably not. Looking back on it, probably won't do that. I mean, he was really solid for us. Big strikeout numbers. I mean, the home runs were an issue too. That was really what I thought his main defect was. We used him out of the bullpen in the past 2 World Series, and he was lights out for us. He was a really solid player, but anyways, kind of getting off topic here. So this was a really flawed team. So in 2024, we were like hovering around 500 at the trade deadline. We were too far back from, the division, too far back from the wild card, at least in my opinion. We probably could have added and made a run for the wild card, but that seemed like a waste to me. So I made the decision to go for the reload. This only shows, I guess, the final rosters for us. But yeah, I mean, we just kind of were just kind of tanking the second half of the season. You can see Aaron Nola for us had some good years. Never won a championship with us, and he had that one really good year, and then he was just really bad after that. Um, he was also part of the reason, we felt like we were okay. We were banking on Aaron Nola. Is this going to be the year he picks it up for us? Is this going to be the year he picks it up for us? No, it was no both times. In case you didn't realize that, but yeah, just another. I kind of knew that going in that it was going to be a little bit of a risky pickup. He had that really good first year for us. I was like, yes, we got our guy, and then he just went into the tank the rest of his career. So that was part of the reason. We were just kind of it was a flawed team, like I said. We had some good players, but all having bad seasons, all just underperforming. So I just decided, forget it. I'm gonna reload the team, and we'll go from 69 wins to 100 wins. And we haven't not made the playoffs. We haven't not won the division since. I kind of was realizing, I'm not, our team isn't good enough to get away with doing this. So I made the decision to kind of go for the 1 year reload kind of thing, and push it, change the way I was running the show. And so really we underperformed for sure. I was looking back on that, only one championship with that kind of stretch was a disappointment. So we got back to 2027, won the World Series, our revamped kind of team here. Juan Soto, you'll recognize a lot of the names here. Wander Franco, again, Tampa Bay couldn't afford him, so we swooped in, picked him up, and he was pretty good for us. He was a bit injury prone also, but he was solid. Again, good defensive shortstop, which is really all that I'm looking for. Anything else you get out of your shortstop is just a bonus. Just play really good defense. It was 80 grade when he was on our team, and that's all you can ask for. Sean Allen was a guy we got in a trade, and he was pretty good for us for a couple of years. We traded him though. Was never really sold on him. Roberto Carrasco, same thing. We had a nice young group of players here. Carrasco was solid for us for a couple of years. Who else here can I talk about? Leo Ayala, not really anything about him. Tony Humphrey. So we picked him up on those trade deadline deals from the year before. He came up, and he was up and down. He was supposed to be this giant masher, and he was kind of that, 538 slugging, but he never really lived up to his potential. Who else here? Nomar Mazzaro we picked up, I think for like a 1 year, 2 year rental. No, it was a 1 year rental, and he was kind of disappointing in that one. We had Victor Robles for a while. If you want to see how Victor Robles' career ends up, pretty good career. And with us, he was again just a good defensive center fielder and decent enough offense, so I was okay with him. Nick Senzel we picked up and had him for 2 seasons. Didn't quite live up to my expectations, but he played good defense again. Again, that's something that I was really trying to go for. At least get a good defense and get good defense all around. Because I was watching us in the playoffs the past couple of years, and we weren't making plays. A lot of the, I guess, tough plays. And I saw that our opponents were making a lot of tough plays, and they had good defenders. So I was like, let me try to do that. Hang on 1 second. I gotta answer a quick text message here. Okay, so Jake Rogers, a catcher, who in real life looks like he's probably going to be the catcher of the future for Detroit. We had him for a couple of years just in a backup role. But yeah, I mean, not a lot of turnover. I mean, not a lot of names here. We were fortunate enough to keep it going here. Our pitching staff was really good. That was the peak of Shane Baz, Jose Tellez, Ryan Zephyr-John, um, who was good for us. He was injured though, got injured with the Red Sox that one year. Yeah. Um, yeah, and Manuel D'Angelo. So this guy was a big disappointment. Also, we picked him up. He was a generated international guy. We signed him to a huge 10-year extension or 10-year deal right away because he had huge ratings. And yeah, he was really disappointing. He had good WAR numbers. His fifths must have been really good, but the runs weren't very good. He had this really good year right here. And then in 2027, he came out and had an ERA like in the fives or the sixes. So I moved him to the bullpen, and that became his role. I didn't mind having a huge, this was really what we were doing. We were, that was like the start really of our new pitching plan where we just went crazy with the bullpen. And he would come in, pitch like 3 innings at a time out of the bullpen for us, and he was really good at it. And I was okay. He was performing in that role. I had no issue paying $25 million to a really good reliever. If he did his job, I didn't care. We were, again, we had the payroll space for it, and he was really good at his role. So. Very good in the World Series also, and the strikeouts took a huge jump when we moved him to the pen. He opted out and went to New York, and they have him in the rotation again, and it hasn't worked out. So, like I say, I'm not a big fan of signing free agent pitchers. That's another kind of thing. I don't really sign big free agents. Draft and develop your own. Use them until they're 30, and then just do it again. That's kind of, it's a lot easier said than done, obviously, but that's the kind of what I try to do. I don't trade for them for and get their 3 prime years or whatever you can get, and then move on. But yeah. We had a bunch of other guys. Casey Mize we picked up for the trade deadline. Then I guess if you want to see Casey Mize's stats, pretty good career for him. Yeah, we had him for 1/2 season. He was really good in those starts for us. Josh Hader, if you want to see his stats, he was really good for us. And yeah, he's been obviously not Josh Hader like in real life, but solid still. And, we had a couple of guys here. Ralph Lau was a guy that I always had a soft spot for. He was always injured. He was injured for he was almost out for 2 full seasons from 2027, 2028. And he was out for most of 2029. He came back for us and, made those 9 final appearances for us and was on the opening day roster. And it was good to see him come back after after a long stint away. So that was good for him. He was part of the trade that we got Mike Trout 2.0 in. We had good relievers, good everything really. Yeah, it was a pretty solid team. And then that kind of, we didn't lose 100 games. Or didn't win under 100 games for the rest of our time here. We won back-to-back 119 wins in 2030. Yeah, this is kind of like our current core here. I all these guys are still here and still producing, kind of like that. We had this guy, Austin Bray, who, I guess I should mention the DH. This might be a little bit controversial, but I put the DH in, I think around 2020. I think it's going to happen eventually anyway. So I just kind of did it myself instead of letting the game do it for me with the evolution of the league. So yeah, that was another thing. We had the DH pretty much the entire time here. But Austin Bray we picked up. Again, Arizona was in some financial troubles. They needed to move that contract, so I picked him up just to hit in the DH spot for us, and he had a really good year. We let him walk. Again, kind of like a recurring theme here. Just picking up guys in their, final 2 years or 1 year of control, using them for a year, getting a good year out of them, and then letting them move on. But yeah, this guy here, Keith Van Campen, he was another guy who was a Rule 5 pick, and he had a pretty good year in limited playing time. So I felt like I could move on from him, though. We picked up Rios in the Rule 5, so I was okay letting him walk, moving on from him. Good defender. Again, kind of what you're going for at center field. Excuse me. And he's had some pretty good years for the Yankees, but, not a big masher or anything like that, so I felt okay moving on from him. And then we had Mike Trout. I guess I should mention Mike Trout here. We had him earlier. So the Angels, he was in the last year of his deal with the Angels, and the Angels weren't a good team. They were like, I think they had 90 losses or something the year before that. So he was available, and I picked him up for 1 season on the last year of his deal, and he was a bit disappointing, the 838 OPS, but he did have still had a 6-win season. I mean, that's disappointing for Mike Trout, I guess, but and then he, I wasn't really too keen on re-signing him for 30 whatever million it was, but so he signed back with the Angels. In the second half of his career, kind of weird. And he signed with Toronto, and then we picked him up once more as a free agent. And, kind of just to hit off the bench, hit lefties for us, which was kind of weird. It didn't really work out. But then he went to Houston, and he ends up with 94 career WAR, 607 home runs, 2,808 hits. So yeah, that's kind of how Mike Trout's career went. If you're wondering what we gave up for him, we gave up Helio Ramos, who is the Giants' top prospect in real life, and he had a pretty mediocre career here. Only 1 good season really for the Angels. Had a kind of a late career resurgence, but I wasn't too hung up on giving up Helio Ramos. He might be a good player in real life, but I was alright giving him up for Mike Trout at the time. It kind of what I was saying before. Anthony Volpe, with an offense that we had, just getting a good defender to play up the middle was really all I was looking for, and he hit, pretty well for us. He was with us for 3 seasons, 2 seasons, and about league average hitting. And propped up by his defense. It's really all I could ask for. Let's see some of the guys that we let go here on our pitching staff. So Nate Wolgemuth, they have him playing first base, it looks like. He's a 2-way player. I never used him as a 2-way player, but I guess the Astros are. So he was a trade. We picked him up in a trade from Pittsburgh, and then kind of signed him to I think it was a 5-year extension with a team option. So I think the 5th year was a team option, and he got hurt after only 2 starts. And so obviously that was a good decision. Tommy John surgery let him walk, and he obviously hasn't been quite the same since. So, but he was really good for us during his time here. Pretty solid player, and Shane Baez, Eddie Abreu, left-handed pitcher that we got in another trade, and he was good for us for 2 seasons. Let him walk though. Kind of like, that's kind of been my strategy here. Nick Thomas, same thing. We picked him up for 1 season. He was good, and then we let him walk, and he hasn't been good since. So that's kind of the way I've been running the team here. Some of these other bullpen guys that we had, yeah. So basically, that's been what we've been doing. We've repeated. It's basically the same team. Pretty much the same team here. Aaron Wheeler. Yeah, basically the same team here. Cesar Elias was the guy that we traded to Oakland, the first baseman. And again, I was fine doing it. That eye discipline anyway. I highly doubt he'll have a successful MLB career with the eye rating like that. So I was okay with it. But yeah, it's pretty much all the players here. Shane Baz, again, Pablo Ortiz, again, same thing. We picked him up for 1 year, used him, and then let him walk. I was interested in bringing him back, but not at that salary, not at that wrecked injury prone either. So I was okay with that. But yeah, that's pretty much all the players here, all the interesting players. I guess I'll show. I guess since this is kind of like the hot topic right now, Bryce Harper, we had him. He came through San Fran at one point, just for 1/2 season at the deadline at the end of his deal. So in this, he signed with Toronto. Toronto always seemed to go after the big free agents here. They always had a lot of money for some reason. And so they signed Bryce Harper in this, and they actually signed him again after that. So kind of recurring theme here. They come to San Fran for 1 season and then sign back with their old team. But yeah, I was looking to bring him back after this year, but didn't end up doing that. So he ends up with 94 WAR, 635 home runs, solid player. But yeah, that's pretty much gonna do it here, I think. Obviously a lot of fun here with the San Frans. Learning how to build a team, kind of adapting my strategies throughout the way. That was a lot of fun. And top prospects, I guess I can show real quick. I don't think we really have anybody too great coming up. We have this guy, third baseman, international free agent. Who knows what he's going to be, 19 years old, but he looks pretty solid. Looks to be like he's going to be pretty solid. Same thing, Ivan Martinez, another international free agent. Who knows, though, still young, 18. But Craig Volrath, first round pick a couple of years ago. But yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. I mean, it's kind of been a bit easy running through with a big payroll team like San Fran. I mean, doing whatever you want. But yeah, didn't get as far into this as I would have liked. I took a huge break. Kind of when the MLB playoffs were going on in real life, I was kind of consumed by that. NHL season started up, kind of got consumed by that. And Red Dead 2 came out, was consumed by that. Computer issues the past couple of months also limited me. And but those are all fixed now, so I'm going to say goodbye now to the San Francisco Giants. I'm going to move on, though, to a different team. But just for curiosity's sake, yeah, I can go wherever I want. So, but yeah, it's just a little bit of a briefer look here. I mean, a brief run through here, but had a lot of fun, obviously, with San Fran. And, running through, looking back at some of the moves that we've made over the way here. And, yeah, so I guess that's pretty much it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys later.